everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be really diving deep into motivation.
Ooh, motivation.
Yeah, we're looking at an episode of the podcast, The Motivation Blueprint. It really just is to lay out like a practical framework
Okay.
for understanding it, but also actually like boosting your motivation.
Interesting.
Yeah, and going through it, one of the things that really surprised me was
Yeah.
that there are two different types of motivation,
Huh.
and one of them is like way more powerful and lasting.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to kind of dig into this with you.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I think a lot of people think about motivation as just like one thing.
Right, yeah,
And this podcast, it kind of like, reframes it.
yeah.
It says that motivation is really like it's about the why behind what we do,
Okay,
but it's not like, this constant thing. It fluctuates. Like
yeah,
some days you're killing it. You're, getting everything done.
for sure, yeah.
And then other days you're like, ugh, I can't even.
You just want to stay in bed.
Exactly.
Oh, I think we can all relate to that. I mean, for
sure. Like even getting out of bed some days is like the biggest accomplishment.
Totally, yeah. But the podcast really emphasizes that it's about understanding how to like harness those moments where you are really motivated, and
Yeah.
then like how do you create it
When you're not feeling it.
when you're not feeling it? Yeah,
That's like the million-dollar question.
sure, yeah.
But that's kind of where these two types of motivation come in,
Okay,
Intrinsic and extrinsic. So we can start with extrinsic. Think of it as like you're driven by those external rewards.
okay.
Those carrots that are dangling out in front of you.
So like getting a promotion at work,
Yes.
or getting a bonus.
Exactly.
Even just like your boss telling you that you did a good job.
Yeah, like you get praised.
Yeah.
So it's all about achieving something outside of yourself.
Okay.
And there's actually research on this. Researchers at the University of Chicago found that
Oh, wow.
when you give employees performance-based bonuses, it actually increases their productivity.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like extrinsic motivation in action.
Like proven.
Yeah. But that's not the whole story.
Right. Because then there's also that inner drive.
Yes.
That intrinsic motivation.
Exactly.
So it's more like, when you complete a task and you feel really satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
or you're working on something you're really passionate about.
Yeah, you're just like completely engrossed in it.
Yeah, it's like you get lost in it.
And it's really interesting because the podcast and a lot of research actually points to intrinsic motivation as like the key to long-term success.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's tied to your values.
Right.
It's tied to your interests. It's
Yeah.
tied to your like sense of purpose.
So it's like more, it's a deeper kind of motivation.
It's deeper. Like those external rewards, they're great. They can give you that initial push,
Right.
but they might not be enough to, keep you going.
When it gets tough.
When it
okay,
gets
yeah.
tough, exactly. But if you're truly passionate about something,
Yeah.
it's less about the destination and more about the journey.
Okay. Yeah.
Think about like people who are super successful in their field.
Okay.
Like they're usually super passionate.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have that intrinsic motivation driving them.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah. So how do we I guess tap into that?
Yeah, how do we get some of that?
Yeah. Because some days, you just don't feel it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this podcast, it gives us a couple of strategies
Okay.
to help us cultivate motivation.
Okay.
And, these strategies apply whether you're more intrinsically or extrinsically motivated.
Okay.
But one of the biggest takeaways for me was the importance of setting clear, achievable goals.
So it's like, we all have these big dreams, but we need to break them down
Break them down.
into smaller, more manageable steps.
Yeah, because it's easy to get overwhelmed
Totally.
when you're looking at that, like, that huge goal.
It feels impossible. Yeah.
It feels impossible. But if you break it down, it's like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, and then each of those like smaller steps becomes like a mini motivator in itself.
Exactly. You get that sense of accomplishing.
Yeah.
Like with each step.
Yeah.
So it's like it keeps you moving forward.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
Okay, so setting clear goals, that's the first step.
Yep.
What else does this motivation blueprint? What else do they recommend?
Well, they also talk about the power of routine.
Routine.
Yeah, I know it doesn't sound as like sexy as, chasing your big dream.
Right.
But it is powerful.
How so?
Well, when you have a consistent routine,
Yeah.
it could be something as simple as like a morning routine.
Okay.
It helps build momentum.
Oh, okay.
So on those days when you wake up and you're just like not feeling it,
Right.
your routine can kind of carry you through.
So it's like having a system in place.
Yeah, like it's
So
just
then
a...
when you're feeling low energy, so you
Exactly.
don't even have to think about it.
You don't have to
You
think.
just do it.
Like autopilot.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off of, having to make all these decisions when you're not, at your best.
Yeah.
I, I find that for me personally, like, I have a morning routine.
Okay.
Even if it's just like a few simple things,
Yeah.
it really helps me to like, be more productive.
Interesting. So it takes away that decision fatigue and gets you right into action.
Exactly.
That's great. Um, so what else? What else did you find valuable in their approach to staying motivated?
One of the things they talk about is surrounding yourself with inspiration.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds really basic,
Yeah.
but it actually can make a big difference.
Oh, for sure. Like for me, I love reading books or listening to podcasts
Not
or
true.
even just like talking to people
Hmm.
who are really like, excited and driven about the things they're working on.
Yeah.
It's contagious.
It really is. It's all about like creating that environment
Yeah.
that really supports your goals.
Right.
It's if you're constantly like surrounded by negative people or people who are kind of like bringing you down,
Yeah.
it's going to chip away at your motivation.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're around people who are positive
Yeah.
things that like, inspire you,
Yeah.
then that's going to fuel your drive.
Yeah, I like that. It's like you're building a support system
Yeah,
toward
exactly.
your goals.
Yeah, support system.
But you're right. Like what inspires one person might not inspire someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about finding like your sources.
Yeah, find what works for you.
What works for you? Yeah.
Exactly. Now, of course, we all face those motivation killers.
Oh.
Even with the best strategies, even
Yeah.
with like the best support system,
So sure.
we're going to, come up against these.
Yeah.
And the podcast talks about procrastination, self-doubt, and burnout.
Ooh, yeah.
Those are the big ones.
The ultimate motivation killer.
Motivation vampires, yeah.
Yeah. So what did they have to say about those? Like how do we deal with those?
Well, for procrastination, they had a technique called the 2-minute rule.
Okay, I've heard of this.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's almost like a way to like trick your brain
Okay.
into taking action.
Okay.
So basically, if a task takes less than 2 minutes,
Yeah.
you just do it immediately.
Okay.
But if it's something bigger,
Yeah.
that's going to take, more than 2 minutes. You just
Right.
commit to working on it for 2 minutes.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, so the idea is that like starting is the hardest part,
Starting is the hardest part.
and then once you start,
Uh-huh.
you're more likely to keep going.
Exactly. You get that momentum going.
Okay.
And what's interesting is the host actually said that, a lot of times procrastination comes from something deeper.
Okay.
Like it could be fear of failure.
Right.
Could be perfectionism.
Yeah.
Feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not just, laziness
Right.
or bad time management.
It's something. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah, there could be some emotional stuff going on.
Yeah.
And, that's why just like willpower or having a to-do list
Yeah.
might not be enough.
Okay.
Sometimes you really need to address like the root of the problem.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So we've got procrastination.
Uh-huh.
What about self-doubt?
Oh, yeah.
That can really like, kill your motivation.
Especially, I think, when you're trying to do something new,
Yeah,
like step outside of your comfort zone.
that's when it creeps in.
Yeah.
And the podcast, their advice was to think about your past successes.
Okay.
It's so easy to like, focus on all the times we've messed up.
Right. Yeah.
We forget about all the wins.
Yeah, it's like we have selective memory
Totally, selective memory.
for all the bad stuff.
But if you can like really think back
Yeah.
to those moments where you succeeded,
Mm-hmm.
where you overcame a challenge,
Right.
it can be really empowering.
Yeah, it's like you're reminding yourself
Yeah, you're reminding yourself
that you can do hard things.
you can do hard things.
You've done it before.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So instead of saying like I can't do this,
yeah,
you say, well, I've done this before.
right. Okay, Aretha, I can do this too.
Yeah.
So it's about like shifting your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And then the last one, burnout.
Ooh, yeah, burnout is like it's the worst.
It is. It's like motivation kryptonite.
Totally.
Sorry. And the podcast was really clear about this.
Okay.
Rest
Okay.
is not a luxury.
Okay.
It is essential
Okay.
for long-term success.
Okay.
If you want to be successful in the long run,
Yeah.
You got to rest.
That's hard for a lot of people
It is.
to accept.
Yeah, it's like we feel guilty
Yeah.
when we take breaks.
Right. I feel like we should always be doing something.
Always be grinding, always be hustling.
Yeah.
But, pushing ourselves to the point of burnout,
Yeah.
it's actually counterproductive.
Right.
It's like, if you were running a marathon
Yeah.
and you never stop to like drink water
Yeah.
or eat anything,
Yeah, you're
you're
gonna
going
be
to collapse.
Yeah.
You're going to hit that wall.
So how do we prevent that? Like how do we balance like achieving our goals but also like taking care of ourselves?
Well, they emphasize the importance of self-care
Okay.
and actually scheduling it into your routine.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So just like you would schedule, a meeting or a work task,
Right.
schedule in time for self-care.
Okay, so even if it's just like taking a couple minutes throughout the day.
Yeah, to move your body,
Yeah.
to clear your head.
Okay.
It all helps.
So it's like being mindful of your needs.
Yeah, being mindful, listening to your body.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that means saying no to extra commitments,
Right.
setting boundaries,
Yeah.
maybe even taking a vacation.
Taking a break. Yeah.
And, doing things that bring you joy,
Okay.
that replenishes your energy.
Okay.
So that might be spending time in nature,
Yeah.
listening to music, connecting with friends.
Okay.
It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But the
Okay.
key is to find what works for you.
So it sounds like this motivation blueprint podcast
Uh-huh.
really covered a lot of ground.
They did.
We talked about understanding motivation,
Yeah.
strategies for cultivating it,
Yep.
strategies for sustaining it,
Uh-huh.
and then what to do when those motivation killers
Come knocking.
come knocking. Yeah.
Exactly.
And they also had like a really powerful call to action at the end.
Yeah.
I love a good call to action.
Me too.
What was it?
So they challenged listeners to identify one thing
Okay.
that really motivates them.
Okay.
Something that like lights them up inside.
Yeah.
And then to take one small step towards it this week.
Oh, I like that.
It's all about taking action.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in like the theory
Right.
or the planning,
Right.
but ultimately you got to take action.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
And even if it's just like a small step.
Even if it's small.
Yeah.
It can make a big difference.
Yeah. And it kind of reinforces that point that we were making earlier
Yeah.
about action preceding motivation.
Yes,
So
exactly.
sometimes you just have to like start,
Just start.
just start, and then the motivation will like catch up.
You get that momentum going.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
It's like you're priming the thump.
Yeah. Okay.
So even if it's just spending 5 minutes,
yeah.
brainstorming ideas,
Yeah.
making a phone call,
Yeah.
doing a little bit of research,
Yeah.
those small ads can have, a big impact.
So, as we kind of like wrap up this deep dive into motivation, what really stands out to you? Like what resonated the most? Yeah, for me, it's we were talking about how motivation isn't this like fixed thing. It's
Mhm.
not something you're just like born with. You can actually like build it.
You can cultivate it.
Yeah.
It's more like a muscle.
Yeah, I like that.
You got to exercise it.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
And I think that's why, understanding those two different types of motivation,
Yeah.
intrinsic and extrinsic,
Uh-huh.
is so important.
Right.
It's not about picking one or the other.
Right.
It's recognizing how they work together.
Yeah.
How they can, complement each other.
Yeah, because sometimes you need that, like,
That external push.
that deadline or that reward
Yeah.
to get you started.
Yeah.
Then it's that, like, inner drive that keeps you going.
Yes, that intrinsic motivation.
When it gets tough.
Exactly.
And, just this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
It's really busted some myths about motivation.
It is.
Like, we think you have to feel motivated all the time to
Right.
be successful.
Or that it's like this constant,
Yeah.
like you're just always inspired.
Yeah, you just wake up every day and you're just like,
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah. I wish it were that easy.
It's not that easy.
But it's good to know that, like, motivation
Yeah.
comes and goes.
It ebbs and flows.
It ebbs and flows, yeah.
And, it's not about being perfect. It's
Right.
about having those strategies
Yeah.
to deal with those times when you're not feeling it.
And remembering that, action
Yeah.
often comes before motivation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to take that first step.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Even if you don't feel like it.
That's great.
Trust that the motivation will follow.
This has been so helpful. I feel like I've got like a whole new set of tools
Awesome.
to use when I'm not feeling motivated.
That's great to hear.
But, it's good to remember that, we're not going to be perfectly motivated all the time.
Oh,
And there are going to be days when,
yeah.
we
It's
struggle
part of the
and
process.
we feel like giving up.
Totally.
That's okay.
It's normal. Yeah.
What matters is, having those strategies and
Yeah.
knowing that, you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
temporary.
It's temporary. It'll pass.
Yeah, yeah.
So, thinking about everything we talked about today,
Uh-huh.
how could you maybe change your approach to your goals to
Okay.
tap into that intrinsic motivation?
Okay.
What are those things that like really light you up?
Okay.
Those are the things that are gonna,
Yeah.
really keep you going.
That's a great question. I'm gonna be thinking about that this week.
Me too.
This has been such a great deep dive.
It has.
Thank you so much for joining
And it
me.
was my pleasure.
And I hope everyone listening
Yeah,
got as much out of it as I did.
for sure.
And remember, motivation's a journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
Not a destination.
Keep learning,
Experiment.
keep pushing yourselves towards the things that matter to you.
That's what it's all about.
And until next time,
Yeah.
stay curious.
Keep diving deep.